My name is Gideon Napson. I am a volunteer on this project. Can you kindly introduce yourself and any connections you have with this church or church building?
Yeah, I'm Liam Robinson. I'm one of the councillors for the Kensington and Fairfield area of Liverpool, of which the church actually is one of the key statement buildings in our community. So that's my link to the church.
What was your first impression of this church building when you were given a guided tour of the structures a few years ago?
I thought it was absolutely fabulous. You know, kind of it's such an impressive building from outside. You know, you can see particularly the church tower from lots of points right across the city, so it's a real landmark in its own right. To actually come inside, which I'd never done until only a few years ago, you get to see what an impressive building it is inside and how kind of it once would have been very, very glorious, and hopefully with the work that you're doing as a project, it will be returned to that former glory. So I think it's a really sort of impressive building, and it will be lovely to see all the work that you do over the years ahead to restore it.
Dozens of people visit this church building each year, either as tourists or because of some family connections to it. Why have local authorities neglected such a landmark building for all these years, allowing it to also almost become unusable?
I think it's a really good point. The building's never been in the ownership of the City Council. That's probably an important thing to say. So it's been owned originally by the church, then a number of different churches, and it's been used for other kind of private usages. So we've never directly owned it as a City Council. That doesn't mean, however, that it's not a listed building, and it is. And it's probably where we should have been better at pursuing the owners to actually tell them the certain obligations that they have to follow to make sure that the building as a listed structure is properly maintained. I think there's lots of ways we want to help you as a church, as the new owners, to look at what we can do to help support you in the restoration of the church. So there's always more that we should have done, more that we can be doing and want to do in the future, but because we've never directly owned it, that's why we've probably not had as much of an involvement in the past.
So what must someone owning a building like this should be doing to maintain it?
I think it depends on what grade of listing, but obviously you are meant to keep it in a good state of repair. Because it's listed, we don't want it to fall down, so kind of some of the things that have happened with the roof falling into a bad state of repair, with the water ingress, the pigeons that have been coming in, that inevitably undermines the structure. Obviously kind of it's those things that the owners of the building in the past should have addressed, and it's obviously ways in which we want to try and support you to make sure that you're able to address them, to make sure that this listed structure can stand for many, many years and actually come back to its former glory.
How would you say technology or modernisation have impacted the building and its activities over time?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Obviously, for a large period of time, the building stood empty or underused. So a lot of the kind of technological improvements that could have happened, like new lighting and things like that, for many years probably didn't. There's lots of different opportunities of how you can use newer technologies as you restore the building to actually kind of, when you look at the roof, for example, you'll be able to use more modern techniques that will be able to last longer, possibly. But then there's also the different opportunities around the fact that traditional church services were always conducted with very traditional music. The fact that we're sat here doing a multimedia interview shows there's different ways that you could use the church for all those kind of digital ways. So it doesn't have to be people sat here, it can be people that are also watching from home, possibly as well. Lots of different ways you can do it, yeah.
I learnt that you are an atheist. What role should a church building like this be playing to foster community relations, or will you have preferred it reused for other purposes, considering you don't even believe in religion?
No, just because I'm an atheist doesn't mean that I believe in God, but it doesn't mean in the slightest I don't respect everyone's right to worship and believe as they wish at the end of the day. So I certainly wouldn't want this building to be anything other than a church. That's entirely right. That's what it was built for. That's what its use should be. And churches and religious buildings of all faiths do a great job in pulling communities together. So there's lots of ways that, as well as having your traditional religious services, this can be and is a meeting place for lots of different community activities, and can be used to bring people of all faiths and none together in a community setting. So certainly from my perspective, I wouldn't have preferred this to be anything other than a church. Yeah.
This church building is one of only a handful that have not been repurposed as homes or as other uses as church numbers keep reducing. What do you think will happen to structures like this in the next 100 years?
Wow, well that's a very big question. I think it depends on how successful you can be with restoring it, and we hope and we want to support you to be really successful so it can remain as a church. It's a great sort of statement, landmark building, and we don't want to see it come back to its former glory, not kind of end up in the disrepair that it has been previously. In terms of the other former church buildings across the area, often they've been sold by mainly the Church of England, sometimes the Roman Catholic Church, and it depends on what the new owners then choose to do with those buildings. But I think kind of the thing I would hope links a lot of those buildings that have been converted, so things like St John Divine's Church on Holly Road or St Cyprian's Church on Edge Lane, that have been converted into homes. Both of those again are listed structures, so the owners of those properties, broadly speaking, have kept those in a good state of repair. So we certainly want to kind of make sure that all of those buildings are in a good state of repair, but equally that as many of them remain as churches as want to remain as churches.
Christian Gold House Ministry that uses the building wanted to continue being a worship and community centre long into the future. As a local politician, how can you support them achieve that aim?
I think there's lots of things that we can do. We can always put you in touch with different organisations that you can potentially apply to grant funding for. We can always support any kind of applications for funding that you're making to different bodies. We've regularly, for lots of organisations across our area, written references to actually say that it's a good organisation, we support their aims and objectives, and that's a reason why they should be successful to get the funding for whatever restoration or project that you would want to do. I think there's lots of ways as well that when you're having an event, we can try to get that message out, so you can sort of have as many people as possible coming to an event, seeing the church, getting involved, coming to church, and that can help your success into the future. So I think from our perspective, our door is always open. Just drop us an email, give us a ring. More than happy to see what we can do to try to keep on helping you and continue to make sure things are successful for you.
Anything else you want to add concerning the future of this and similar buildings?
I think the great thing is that since you took over the running of the building, you're actually starting to bring it bit by bit into really positive use and restoring the building in a way that hasn't happened, certainly for as long as I've been living in Liverpool. So you've been doing really well. From our perspective, we want to continue to help and support you with that. So I think that's the final kind of point I'd make, but also as well, I think you've done a brilliant job doing the interview today.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.